සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර 3කින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Making headlines on First at 9. Tale of two ministers. India's Minister of State for Civil Aviation contradicts Sri Lanka's Civil Aviation Minister over India wanting a controlling stake in the MATTALA airport. The pavilion at the heart of a stir. Mayor of GALLE is adamant of all constructions within the GALLE International Stadium being legal. How to become independent. International experts on bribery and corruption outline how to make anti-corruption institutions effective.
The operational independence is first, it needs to be addressed in any anti-corruption agency.
There is independence, but there is also accountability. There is nothing that is known as absolute independence.
Spectacle in the sky. The century's longest blood moon sighting expected tonight.
The eclipse will be visible to us from 11:54 to 3:49 in the following day morning.
Question of conduct. Danushka Gunatilaka slapped with a 6-game suspension.
Other Derana First at 9. Sponsored by
Nestamol Plus, now with the goodness of oats.
From Nestle.
A very good evening to you and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. MATTALA Rajapaksa International Airport became a focal topic in the political arena over the past 2 weeks, with government ministers claiming that India and Sri Lanka had to come to a decision to administer the airport through a joint venture company. Politicians from the opposition as well as the public did not take kindly to the news and proceeded to criticize the government. However, in a surprise turn of events, it came to light that a proposal for India to purchase a controlling stake in the MATTALA International Airport is not presently under consideration. Indian media quoted Indian Minister of State for Civil Aviation Jayant Singha as saying such in contradiction to the statement made by the Sri Lankan government.
Responding to a question raised by Chief Opposition Whip Anurakumara Dissanayake in Parliament on the 19th of July, Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Nimal Siripal de Silva said that a decision has been reached with India to administer the MATTALA International Airport through a joint venture company. He even said that as per the proposal, the Indian Aviation Authority will purchase 70% of the airport.
As per the proposal presented by the Indian Aviation Authority, the government agreed to administer the airport through a joint venture company, and for that 70% of the airport will be purchased by an Indian Aviation Authority. We expect to pay off the debts by the money we receive.
It was in this backdrop that Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne also conceded on Wednesday as to how MATTALA International Airport and Hambantota Port were at the heart of avoiding a diplomatic tangle with China and India. Minister Senaratne's views also became a confirmatory statement on a proposal between India and Sri Lanka regarding the international airport.
රාජ්‍යාන්ත්‍රික ගැටලු අපේ රටට ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද? දැන් ඉන්දියාවයි චීනයයි
ඒකට නෙමෙයි චීනට ඒක දීලා මේක ඉන්දියාවට දෙන්නේ බැලන්ස් එකට.
Although the government depicted progress in a deal between Sri Lanka and India over the MATTALA International Airport, albeit under criticism, India's response on the matter was rather surprising. Quoting a statement made by the Indian Minister of State for Civil Aviation, Jayant Singha, yesterday, Indian media reported that not even a proposal is under consideration for the Airports Authority of India to buy a controlling stake in Sri Lanka's MATTALA Rajapaksa International Airport. In the lower house of the Indian Parliament, Lok Sabha, member of Bharatiya Janata Party, Poonam Mahajan had asked whether the AAI is considering purchasing a controlling stake in the airport, thereby gaining ownership of the airport. In a written reply, Minister of State for Civil Aviation Jayant Singha had said, "No, madam, no such proposal is under consideration at present." Singha had also given a negative reply to the query on whether Indian Aviation Authority would build a flying school and a maintenance, repair and overhaul unit at the MATTALA airport. Meanwhile, Sri Lankan government's official news website, www.news.lk, also reported India's response on the matter today.
International experts in the field of anti-corruption stress the importance of independency in official appointments and operation of anti-corruption agencies in upholding integrity and accountability of a country's intelligence service. They expressed these views exclusively to First at 9 on the sidelines of the three-day Global Expert Group meeting on the Jakarta Principles in Colombo.
The process of making the anti-corruption independent, one is to ensure the appointment of the chief commissioner, and secondly, the operational independence is the first area need to be addressed in any anti-corruption agency, because I believe that this is the heart of the independence of anti-corruption agency. For that purpose, the Malaysian anti-corruption have a strong legal framework that giving the power to the commissioner to decide to investigate or not to investigate. This is so crucial because if an anti-corruption agency have to refer to any other entities or have to refer to another person or leader in the country, it will really jeopardize the independence of the organization. You must make sure that those appointed are eminent person or those have been respected by the society.
When we talk about independence in an anti-corruption commission or agency, we cannot only talk about independence. There are two sides to this coin. There is independence, but there is also accountability. There is nothing that is known as absolute independence. In other words, we say that we are independent, but also by virtue of being accountable. In other words, when we have conducted our investigation, the fact that we have to send the file to the DPP to get his consent before we prosecute is a form of accountability, because it's a form of check and balance. Because you have a second pair of eyes that have a look into your investigation. The fact that we have sitting here illustrates something very important in the anti-corruption work. It's the need and the importance of collaborating.
Meanwhile, Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Program of Indonesia, Laud M. Arif, shared Indonesia's experience in tackling corruption.
In terms of independency, it is actually very clear in the law. It says that the KPK, it is independent from the executive and the legislatures to ensure there is no conflict of interest among commission of the KPK or the staff of the existing staff of the KPK. Every appointment within the KPK, it has to go through independent consultants. So we have a special independent consultant who actually administering the selection process for the KPK staff.
Mayor of Galle Priyantha Sahabandu today brushed off any suggestion that there are illegal constructions within the Galle International Cricket Stadium, while insisting that the Mahinda Rajapaksa Pavilion within the stadium does not violate conditions set forth by UNESCO. The mayor also pointed out that the main bus stand located few meters away from the stadium is of greater height than the pavilion in question.
A few constructions within the Galle International Cricket Stadium, allegedly deemed unauthorized by the UNESCO, created a stir in the country, with questions arising over Galle Fort being at risk of losing its status as a World Heritage Site. In such a backdrop, the Minister of Education as well as the Chairman of the UNESCO Sri Lanka, Akila Viraj Karyavasam, said that the Galle Stadium will not be relocated, but the unauthorized constructions within the stadium will be removed. When Derana inquired the matter from Governor of Galle Priyantha Sahabandu, he clarified that the constructions in question are legally built.
I clearly state that not a single building in the approved plan is affected. Among the conditions, the third condition says that the 10-meter tall portion of the screen that is located on the side of the Galle Fort be built so that it could be operated with hydraulics during matches. It says that this does not affect other buildings.
According to the mayor, the UNESCO criteria only limits the height at 10 meters on buildings constructed on the side of the Galle Fort, which means the buildings in question have not violated UNESCO criteria, since they are located in the opposite side. The height of the Mahinda Rajapaksa Pavilion is 11.5 meters and the GALLE bus stand located a few meters away from the stadium is 12.5 meters in height. Accordingly, the main bus stand in GALLE is 1 meter higher than the pavilion and 2.5 meters taller than the stipulated height limit of buildings by UNESCO. Given the contradictory nature of the topic, it continues to draw opinions in the political arena.
No, it's a rumour. No one prefers to remove it. How will they do that? Because we were a part of his cabinet and we object. No one should remove existing constructions. They can build another one after their name if anyone wants to. We're not asking to demolish the cricket stadium. If required, they can remove one floor of the building and name it after anyone they prefer. This is a very important stadium for us. UNESCO hasn't mentioned prohibiting matches at the stadium. Some politicians are trying to blow this issue out of proportion.
President Maithripala Sirisena points out that Sri Lanka throughout history has always put humanity ahead in comparison with other developed nations. The head of state made the remark at an event held in Colombo today.
Deshabandhu Dr. Pablis Silva's English translation of his culinary book, titled Great Chronicles of Sri Lankan Culinary Art, was launched under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena.
I handed over the National Ironwood Forest to the Central Environmental Authority yesterday, along with the Pink Marble Mountain. During this event yesterday, I read a few handbooks there, and it was there that for the first time I learnt about history of human sanctuaries. I read how it was chronicled in an inscription stone that the fourth king of Tappula, who lived in the Anuradhapura era, planted saplings for the ironwood forest. It also mentioned that this human sanctuary is not for animals, but for people. Once someone enters this sanctuary, even if he or she is an enemy of the king's security was not allowed to arrest them. It shows how far we are as a country in terms of humanity than most other developed countries in the world.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa insists that elections could be expedited if Chairman of the Election Commission has a genuine desire to see elections being held. The former president made the remark when he visited Carlton House in Tangol for a Poya Day program.
I do not think this government has any intention to hold an election anytime soon. But if the chairman of the Election Commission wishes, he could call for an election even at this very moment and hold it according to the system that is in place. This is an initiative that should be taken by the Election Commission. Therefore, I would hold the Election Commission responsible in making this happen.
In the meantime, Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Faiza Mustafa, however, believes that there's a possibility of holding provincial council polls in January of next year.
I, as the Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, participated in a meeting with party leaders. The next phase of the discussion will be held next week. All party leaders are ready to make a definitive decision as to in which manner the election must be held and if we need any amendments.
ස්ථිර තීන්දුවක් ගන්න සියලුම පක්ෂ නායකයන් ලෑස්තිලා ඉන්නවා.
අමුතු අපි ජනවාරි 5 ජනතාවට බලාපොරොත්තුවක් සහිතව ඉන්න පුළුවන් වේද?
මං හිතනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම
Yes, I think so. As the subject minister, I have fulfilled all my responsibilities. This is a responsibility which lies with all 225 members of parliament. But I too believe that we will be able to hold the election in January.
මේ ඡන්දය පවත්වන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක.
Minister of Petroleum Resources Development Arjuna Ranatunga expresses his disappointment over the government, saying that it would go down in history as the regime which destroyed the sports of cricket in Sri Lanka. Minister Ranatunga, who led the country to World Cup glory in 1996, made his thoughts clear following a function in Kirindavala.
එමතුමා පසුගියදා කැබිනට් එකේදී ජනාධිපතිවරයා විසින් කිව්වද ඔබතුමාට ක්‍රීඩාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් කතා කරන්න එපා ඔබතුමාගේ අමාත්‍යාංශයේ වැඩ කටයුතු කරගෙන ඉන්න කියලා. රාජිත් සේනරත්න මහත්මයා මාධ්‍ය ප්‍රකාශකයට කිව්වා එහෙම දෙයක් සිදු වුණේ නැහැ කියලා.
Cabinet media spokesperson Minister Rajitha Senaratne said that no such thing happened. But the way I see it, this is not an insult to me but to the President and sports fans. Would a president who was appointed by the people ever tell a person who is knowledgeable in sports to refrain from speaking about sports? These are lies.
ඉතාමත් අවාසනාවන්ත සිද්ධියක් එහෙම නොවිච්ච දෙයක්.
ඇමතුමා මේ මාධ්‍ය වාර්තා කරනවා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ නිසි බලධාරිය පත් කළ තියෙන්නේ 44 වෙනි වගන්තිය යටතේ කියලා. නමුත් අපි දකින්නේ නැහැ ක්‍රීඩා පනතේ 44 වෙනි වගන්තියක් 43න් ඉවරයි.
මට ජනාධිපති නීතිඥතුමෙට
I cannot teach a President's Council law. We are also searching for this section. Although there was mismanagement and lack of coaches, we still won games. This government of good governance will go down in history as the government that destroyed the sport of cricket. I'm very disappointed in the current government because we were unable to implement what we set out to do.
අපිට කරන්න ඕනේ දේවල් අපි තාම හරියට කරේ නැහැ කියන එක.
Former Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Weerasekara issued a communique today in response to allegations made at a media briefing by UPFA parliamentarian Dilan Pereira. In the statement, the former Rear Admiral stated that he will let former President Mahinda Rajapaksa decide whether it should be MP Dilan Pereira or him who should be by his side. At a media briefing yesterday, UPFA parliamentarian Dilan Pereira said that when the time comes for the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to name a presidential candidate, the party will have to remain cautious as there are plans by the UMP to destroy the former president's party. He added that this scheme is being carried out with the use of persons such as former Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Weerasekara to incite hatred within the party. In response to these allegations, former Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Weerasekara said that it appears that parliamentarian Dilan Pereira is suggesting that he had accepted a contract from the UMP. The former Rear Admiral added that he only stood against the LTTE, war heroes being sacrificed before the international community and separating the country by bringing in a new constitution. He further noted that he will let former President Mahinda Rajapaksa decide whether it should be Dilan Pereira or him who should be by his side. Let's now cross over to a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. The longest blood moon of the 21st century will appear in the night sky later tonight, making it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to witness the phenomenon. The spectacle, which will start at 10:44 p.m. local time, will last for 1 hour, 42 minutes and 57 seconds, making it the longest total lunar eclipse of this century.
The longest total lunar eclipse of the 21st century will be visible in the skies tonight from Australia through to Africa. A total lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth's shadow moves across the moon, blocking out light from the sun. As the shadow glides across the surface of the moon, it takes on a distinctive red glow, an effect caused by the bending of light in Earth's atmosphere. According to the organization Earth Sky, the longest possible duration of a lunar eclipse is 1 hour and 47 minutes. Viewers will need no protective eye gear to observe the spectacle, unlike when watching a solar eclipse. A next total lunar eclipse of this length will occur until the 9th of June in 2123. Many countries will experience a partial eclipse, with countries including Sri Lanka, the Middle East, Eastern Africa and the Central Asia being privileged enough to get a clear view of the spectacle.
The eclipse starts at 10:45 p.m. with the entering of the moon into the Earth's less dark penumbra area. The eclipse will be visible to us from 11:54 to 3:49 in the following day morning. The total eclipse will start at 1 a.m. on 28th, and it will be there for 1 hour and 43 minutes.
The Asalapoya Day, another important day in the Buddhist calendar, is celebrated by devotees across Sri Lanka today. Special Asalapoya Day program, Derana was organised at the ancient stupa of Kirivehera Temple in Kataragama to mark the day.
Derana special Asalapoya Day program by Derana Media Network was held in the premises of the ancient Kirivehera Temple in Kataragama today. Thousands of devotees sat through the Buddhist sermon delivered by Chief Incumbent of Kirivehera Temple, Venerable Kobavaka Dhammindathera, who is still recovering from a gunshot wound, an incident which sparked much outrage recently. Several other Buddhist sermons were also delivered by prominent members of the Buddhist clergy. Meanwhile, the historic final Perahara procession of the Ruhunu Mahakataragama Devala is currently underway. Katharagama Asala festivities will conclude with the water cutting ceremony, which is to be held tomorrow at the Jeevamali port along River Manik. TV Derana and FM Derana partnered as official media sponsors for the main Katharagama procession this year. Following the traditional water cutting ceremony tomorrow, the cleaning program by Manusat Derana themed Manusat Derana for a Beautiful Country will commence at 1 p.m. Milk powder brand Red Cow will join hands with Manusat Derana for the cleaning program in the sacred city of Katharagama. Several other government institutions such as Katharagama Provincial Council, Civil Security Department and Sri Lanka Police will also support the program tomorrow.
EU Brexit negotiator Michael Barnier rejected key elements of Britain's new trade proposals yesterday, even as he and his new British counterpart Dominic Raab voiced a shared determination to reach a deal by October. At a joint news conference with the Brexit Secretary after 3 days of talks among officials in Brussels, Barnier made clear British offers to collect custom duties for the EU as part of efforts to avoid friction on Northern Ireland's new EU border had failed to convince already sceptical Europeans.
The EU cannot and the EU will not delegate the application of its customs policy and rules, VAT and excise duty collection to a non-member who would not be subject to the EU's governance structures. Any customs arrangements or customs union, and I always said that the EU is open to a customs union, must respect this principle. And in any case, a customs union which would help to reduce friction at the border would come with our common commercial policy for goods.
Negotiations to provide an outline of how trade will work between Britain and the EU after Brexit next March and, more particularly, after the end of a status quo transition in 2021 have become tangled up with resolving the Irish question, which Brussels say must be done in a pre-Brexit withdrawal treaty. Facebook Incorporated chief executive Mark Zuckerberg's fortune took a more than $15 billion hit yesterday as the social media company suffered the biggest one-day wipeout in US stock market history, a day after executives forecast years of lower profit margins. This pushed the Nasdaq down more than 1%, the index's biggest one-day drop in a month. At least 16 brokerages cut their price targets on Facebook after Chief Financial Officer David Wenner startled an otherwise routine call with analysts by saying the company faced a multi-year squeeze on its business margins. That bombshell, as one analyst termed it, played into concerns on Wall Street that Facebook's model could be under threat after a year dominated by efforts to head off concerns over privacy and its role in global news flow. Shares closed down almost 19% at $176.26, wiping more than $120 billion off the company's value, or nearly 4 times the entire market capitalization of Twitter Incorporated. Slowing revenue growth initially pulled the stock down nearly 9.5 hours trading on Wednesday before losses picked up on the margin outlook. Facebook's margin fell to 44% in the second quarter from 47% a year ago, as it spent heavily on security and initiatives to convince users the company was protecting their privacy. The company also said revenue growth from emerging markets and the company's Instagram app, which has been less affected by privacy concerns, would not be enough to repair the damage. We'll join you with more international news on the other side.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Greece has had a disastrous time of late, with a fire gutting a seaside region close to Athens, killing over 80 people. Now it emerges the fire might have been started deliberately. Citizen Protection Minister Nikos Toskas say that there are serious indications the fire was started deliberately.
It was a tragedy that claimed numerous unsuspecting innocent lives. A fire which erupted on Monday raced through the seaside town of Mati, destroying everything in its path. While some people were trapped in their homes and cars being burnt alive, others raced towards the sea and jumped off cliffs in desperation to save themselves. It was thought the conflagration were in fact a wildfire fanned by 100-kilometer winds. But now it appears there is a human hand behind the tragedy. Citizen Protection Minister Nikos Toskas says Greece has serious indications that the fire that killed at least 83 people was started deliberately. Toskas also says that another fire that broke out near Athens a few hours earlier but did not cause casualties had been started intentionally. Greek Defence Minister Panos Kamenos told media that building by residents between wooded areas was a crime that had resulted in blocking escape routes. Charred remains of people continues to be discovered, which include 26 people at a hilltop, with parents and children burnt alive in a last embrace. Earlier rescue workers searching a cliffside in the seaside town of Mati found more human remains.
Now let's take a look at other emerging stories from across the globe.
A joint team comprising of Thai and Lao rescuers helped families with babies evacuate to safety yesterday amid deadly floods in Atapeyu province of Laos. The families had been trapped within their village since the dam burst on Monday. Official media reported yesterday that 27 people were confirmed dead, with 131 missing, but activists claim the government is playing down the disaster and the actual figures could be much higher. Another day, another scorcher as temperatures in parts of Germany hit 38 degrees Celsius. Berlin has had to call in the police and fire services to give the city's blooms and greenery a much-needed drink, while city residents and visitors continue to lap up the sun, slurping cold drinks and ice creams to take the edge off the heat, whilst other empty shop shelves of fans and humidifiers. Local businesses and charities in the English town of Reading recently put on a pampering day for the homeless, providing up to 100 disadvantaged people with free haircuts, manicures, skincare and massages. Around a dozen companies gave their time and donated money to host the event, where new clothes and a cooked lunch by restaurant chefs were also provided. 5-month-old 2 rare white lion cubs made their debut at Huachipa Zoo in Peru's capital Lima yesterday. White lions are not albinos, as many believe, and their ivory coat is due to color mutations in a certain subspecies. Local media say the cubs are the first white lions Peru has held in captivity.
Sri Lanka cricket today decided to suspend Anushka Gunatilaka from 6 international cricket matches for breaching the player code of conduct and contractual obligation. Out of the total of 6 matches, 3 matches are for the latest violation, whilst another 3 matches are given as part of a suspended sentence from the 18th October last year for breaching the player contract. Gunatilaka will also not be paid the match fee for the concluded second test match, which Sri Lanka played against South Africa during the ongoing tour, along with any bonus and or other related payments. Top seed Dominic Thiem breezed into his 10th quarter-final of the season as he advances in the German Open in Hamburg. There were also wins for Pablo Carreño Busta and Nicolas Basilashvili.
Top seed Dominic Thiem eased past Australian John Millman 6-2, 6-2 at the German Tennis Championships yesterday to reach his 10th quarter-final of the season. Thiem extended his match win record to 31-11 for the season, which includes 2 clay court titles in Buenos Aires and Lyon. He will next face Czech Nicolas Jarry for a place in the semi-finals. Meanwhile, top seed Pablo Carreño Busta went through after Slovenia's Aljaz Bedin was forced to retire with a back injury while trailing 4-love in the second set, the Spaniard having taken the first 6-2. Georgian qualifier Nicolas Basilashvili had a much tougher task, fighting back from 6-1 down in the first set tiebreak on his way to a 7-6, 6-4 victory over Uruguay's Pablo Cuevas.
Sheila Fernando is at the Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
Very good evening to our viewers and welcome to Forecast First. Starting off with your temperatures for tomorrow, that will vary between 20 and 35 degrees Celsius, with the highest of 35 expected along the coastal line from Mullaitivu to Batticaloa. Well, when looking at the map, a low pressure zone will develop in the western province and will gradually disappear. Well, the areas of Jaffna, Mannar, Anuradhapura and Trincomalee will experience continuous sunshine tomorrow, while the areas of Vaunia, Kandy, Colombo, Galle and Mattala as well as Hambantota will experience rainy conditions. That's all from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
It is the end of this working week, which means it's time for the good story. Tonight we take you to China, where a medical student from Jiangsu in Liaoning province saved an elderly man who collapsed and lost consciousness on a train station platform. The student, identified as Ding Hui, was reportedly waiting for her train home when she heard about the incident. In the viral clip, Ding is seen performing CPR on the 81-year-old man, helping him regain consciousness. And that is the part of your world tonight, right here on Derana 24/7. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.